All right, so you went to the Galapagos, right? And when did you go? When did you go on the trip?
We went, I believe, the second week in June, this last summer.
And how long were you there?
We went for about 9 days.
Nice long trip.
Yes, and it was nice because we the flight was not as long because we actually make a good connections from here to Atlanta, where it's less than an hour. Then from Atlanta to Quito, Ecuador, is just 4 hours and 45 minutes. So it's a
What
short
was that?
flight.
From Atlanta to?
Quito. Quito is the capital. So we stay actually in Quito for a couple days, and then after we settled, we went to the Galapagos. That's more in the coast.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, oh.
And who set up the trip?
I came up with the idea because the year before that I went to play in Ecuador with the orchestra, and I thought that it would be a great idea to take some students from my Spanish classes. But also I thought Mr. Batniak should be a good professor to take with me because he teach science, and the Galapagos Islands are very famous because Charles Darwin did so many experiments there, and I thought Mr. Baniak with his class will be the best to go. So I asked him, and he said that he actually that was one of his
Have a good day, Mr. Park.
one of his dreams to go to the Galapagos. So I thought that would be a great combination to take kids from the science and Spanish classes.
So it was a mix of like science and Spanish.
Yes,
trip.
science and Spanish. They also were some families. Basically, were like I think we had 5 families. The parents were with the kids, were 2 or 3 kids on it.
Have a good
And have a good break. And so it was great. I mean, we have several adults.
Yeah.
They wanted to go with their kids. And also we invite, we had our other 3 teachers from school. They also wanted to go with us. So it was a nice group of parents.
Who were the 3 teachers?
We had Mrs. Maguire. We have Mr. He already retired. Dave. What is his Dave? He used to teach. What's his name? Well, Dave, and also Mr. Oh, I forgot all the names. I forgot all the names, but I have. Let me look right here. Let's see.
Because you want the security done.
I can tell you exactly who they were. David Case.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes, Mr. David Case. He retired the year before. And Mr. Keith Whitmore.
Okay.
Actually, when I mentioned it to Mr. Keith Whitmore, he said that that was one of the things that he always dreamed to go to.
Yeah.
But he was afraid to go. He didn't. I don't think he had a chance to do anything out of the country. But I make sure to say that that's a trip that he will remember.
Yeah.
For sure. And the interesting part was that when we came back, he said, "You were right," because this is something that I will never done if with friends and from school, and he was very happy to do it.
Yeah. So why the Galapagos?
Well, Galapagos because one of the things that in my classes I teach is not only Spanish, but I love to integrate the culture part of Latin America in my teaching, and that means there is so many places around Latin America and Spain that kids need to be aware that are there for them to visit. They have the culture, they have the music, they have the food, they have the language. The tradition is so rich, and I really like for the students to be more open-minded. And in some of my classes, I also teach about the Galapagos Islands.
Yeah.
So I thought, I've been teaching this for a while. Now is the time to take the kids over there and show exactly what I was talking about. So that's one of the reasons, and also because it's one of the most beautiful places on earth.
Yeah. And was this your first time going to the Galapagos?
No, I
And-
have been already in the Galapagos before.
One time before? Or?
Yeah, well, it was at least 7-8 years before that. So I was very interested to see what changes happen at the Galapagos, because there are several islands, but still the way the setup is just so amazing, because you still feel like you're back in time. And that's the most beautiful part of the Galapagos, because everything is so preserved, and if you're a big fan of taking pictures or videos, that's really one of the best places to do it.
And what was the coolest thing you saw from the trip?
I think the coolest thing in my trip, because I took so many students, is that how well the students adapted in the Galapagos.
How well the students what?
They adapted in the
Oh,
Galapagos.
yeah.
I was afraid that maybe some of them will get sick, or maybe the food will, not be good for them. But I was so impressed that they ate all the food. There was not fast food at all. Kids were able to eat healthy food, a lot of seafood. All of them had a chance to try coffee. I know many of them, they don't drink coffee, but they were willing to do it, and really they started drinking coffee every breakfast that we had. And I really was impressed that they were very obedient, and the trip was just perfect, because many of them it was their first time, and I was afraid for them to get maybe sick with some of the food, but no, I mean it was just great. They did very good.
And what was your favorite part?
I think my favorite part is when we went to scuba diving, and we did some snorkeling. We went to a small island, and it was just in the wild. And when we got there were so many sea lions, just resting. And basically everybody had a chance to swim with them. And some of the kids had some cameras for underwater that they actually capture sharks. They got some sea lions and got some turtles. So it was just amazing to be just out there and have a contact with nature.
Yeah.
May I have your attention, please? Brent Patchett. Please report to Academic Services. Brent
And
Patchett.
how did a normal day go? Like,
Okay, normal day was, we woke up very early. Breakfast is served for everyone. Everybody has organic juice, good coffee, organic food, a lot of fruit. Well, that's the beginning. And then from then we just go to explore a different island every day. And depends on what we do. Eventually, by the end of the day, everybody is really, really tired.
Oh, yeah.
But excited to be there. So it's just, I think a lot of the kids were so excited to just try so many types of food they were there. So it was really good.
How many islands? Is it just a?
There is 17 islands. We were able to visit 4 only, but these 4 were kind of like the main ones. Normally, if you want to visit the islands that are far, you will take a boat and be like 3 or 4 hours in the sea just one way, and then, but there's so much to see that one trip is too short.
Oh yeah. No. How was it crowded when you all went there, or how crowded was it?
No, it wasn't that crowded. But it was great, but you can tell that there's people from all around the world. It's, I mean, you see groups speaking so many different languages, and it's just such a great experience because sometimes you bump with people that they maybe visit different islands and they're talking about those, and you kind of share those experiences with them.
And what would you recommend to people going to the Galapagos?
Why?
Or what would you recommend?
What do I recommend?
Yeah, like what would you see, or what would you recommend seeing or doing?
Well, I recommend the fact that they will, if they go to the Santa Isabela Island, that's the biggest island. In Santa Isabela Island, you will see the Charles Darwin laboratories. So that's just so nice because that group of people now that work there, they actually take the baby turtles and they make sure that they're big enough to release it in the wild. So it takes a while, it takes years to do that, but thanks to them, everything is in good hands. For sure, people should to go to visit that. But then every island have a different species of animals and birds. So I mean, it's just you can choose basically anything that you prefer to see, but anything is going to be great.
It's just straight up beerness is all it is. Beerness.
So lots of wildlife everywhere.
Lots. And if you're a good swimmer, hey, that's just outstanding. Some of our students actually took some pro